Commander Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant and looked out at the stars. The ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now. It was humanity's first real trip into deep space, far from Earth and the safety of home. Jake was tired. A mission was supposed to be simple. They would fly around, look at planets, and take notes. Nothing exciting was supposed to happen. But space had a way of surprising people. "Sir, I'm getting something strange on the sensors," said Lisa Park. She was the chief science officer and one of the smartest people Jake had ever met. Her fingers moved quickly over her computer as she studied the readings. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" Lisa frowned at her screen. "There's an energy signal coming from the Kepler 442 system. It's not natural. Someone or something made it." Captain Ryan Blake heard this from his command chair. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been in space longer than anyone else on the ship. "Are you sure it's artificial?" "Yes." "Sir," Lisa said, "the pattern is too regular to be natural. It repeats every 12 seconds exactly. Nothing in nature does that." The bridge became quiet. Everyone knew what this might mean. For hundreds of years, humans had looked for signs of alien life. They had found planets that could support life, but never any actual aliens. This could be the first real proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Lieutenant Commander Amy Torres looked worried. She was the first officer and always thought about safety first. "Captain, we should report this to Earth Command before we investigate." Blake shook his head. "That would take months. By the time they send another ship, whatever is making that signal might be gone." He turned to Jake. "Set course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed." Jake nodded and gave the orders. The Defiant's engines hummed louder as the ship changed direction. They would reach the system in 6 hours. During the trip, the crew prepared for what they might find. Dr. Helen Price worked on translation programs in case they met aliens who could talk. Danny Wright checked all the communication equipment. Carlos Martinez made sure the ship's weapons were ready, just in case. "Do you really think we'll find aliens?" asked Pete Johnson. He was young and had joined the crew straight from the academy. This was his first deep space mission. "Maybe," Jake said. "Or maybe we'll find an old space probe from another country. We won't know until we get there." But deep down, Jake felt excited. Every person on the ship did. They might be about to make the most important discovery in human history. When they reached the Kepler 442 system, Lisa's sensors immediately found the source of the signal. It was huge. "Captain, you need to see this," Lisa said. Her voice was full of amazement. On the main screen, a massive structure appeared. It was clearly not natural. The thing was made of metal and crystal, with lights moving along its surface. It was bigger than any building on Earth. "It's a space station," Blake said quietly. "An alien space station." The crew stared in wonder. Maria Santos, the chief engineer, whispered, "It's beautiful." The station was shaped like a flower with 6 petals. Each petal was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to glow with their own light. It slowly rotated in space, and as it turned, the patterns changed colors. "I'm detecting life signs," Lisa reported. "There are definitely aliens inside that thing." Blake stood up from his chair. "This is it, people. First contact. Danny, open a channel. Let's try to say hello." Danny worked at his station for several minutes. "I'm broadcasting on all frequencies, Captain. Basic mathematical sequences, music, images. Everything we planned for first contact." They waited. The alien station continued its slow rotation, but there was no response to their signals. "Maybe they need time to figure out our message," Amy suggested. Suddenly, the alien station changed. The lights on its surface began flashing rapidly. Parts of the structure started moving. unfolding like mechanical flowers. "Sir, the station is powering up some kind of weapon system," Carlos reported from his security station. "Multiple energy signatures building up." "What?" Blake said. "We haven't done anything threatening." "Captain, they're aiming at us," Carlos sighed, his voice getting urgent. Without warning, bright beams of energy shot out from the alien station. They streaked across space toward the Defiant. "Evasive maneuvers," Blake shouted. Jake's hands flew over his controls, turning the ship hard to the left. The alien beams missed by only a few hundred meters. The energy was so powerful that it made the ship's hull heat up just from passing nearby. "They're firing again," Carlos yelled. More energy beams came at them. Jake spun the ship in a complex pattern, dodging the attacks. But he knew they couldn't keep this up forever. "Return fire," Blake ordered. "Defensive action only." Carlos activated the Defiant's weapons. The ship had been built for exploration, but all human ships carried weapons for protection. Bright missiles shot out from the Defiant and flew toward the alien station dot. The missiles hit their target with perfect accuracy. Explosions bloomed across the station's surface. The alien weapons stopped firing immediately. Parts of the station went dark. "Direct hits," Carlos reported. "Their weapon systems are offline." The bridge fell silent. In less than 2 minutes, humanity had made first contact with aliens and then gotten into a fight with them. Jake wondered if this was how it was supposed to happen. "Well," Blake said finally, "that didn't go as planned." Far across the galaxy, Admiral Veltar received the emergency message from the border station. The tall, blue-skinned alien had never heard such panic in a transmission before. "Admiral, we are under attack," came the voice of Station Commander Kreeth. "An unknown vessel appeared and opened fire without warning. Our scanning systems have been destroyed. We need immediate help." Veltar's large, black eyes widened in shock. The Zephyrian Collective had not seen warfare in over 1,000 years. Their species had evolved beyond violence long ago. The idea that someone would attack a peaceful research station was almost impossible to believe. "How many ships are attacking?" "You?" Veltar asked. "Just one, sir. But it's like nothing we've ever seen. Their weapons are incredibly powerful. They disabled our defenses in seconds." Veltar felt a chill run through his body. One ship had defeated an entire border station? The Zephyrians were not warriors, but their technology was advanced. What kind of species could destroy their equipment so easily? "Send the distress signal to all nearby fleets," Veltar ordered his crew. "And contact the High Council immediately. They need to know about this." Meanwhile, on the UE's Defiant, Danny Wright was working hard to establish communication with the damaged alien station. His computers had been trying to decode the alien signals for an hour. "I think I'm getting something," Danny said. "Their language is completely different from anything on Earth, but the computer is starting to find patterns." Captain Blake walked over to Danny's station. "Can you talk to them?" "Maybe. Let me try something simple." Danny typed commands into his computer and sent a basic message toward the alien station. A few minutes later, they received a response. The computer translated it slowly, word by word, double quotes, please, do not, Again, we, surrender to your, superior, force. A bridge crew looked at each other in confusion. "Surrender?" Amy Torres said. "We weren't trying to conquer them. We were defending ourselves." Dr. Helen Price had been studying the alien signals since the fight ended. She looked up from her work with a troubled expression. "Captain, I think we made a terrible mistake." "What do you mean?" Blake asked. "I've been analyzing their energy beams. They weren't weapons at all. They were scanning devices. The aliens were trying to study us, not hurt us. The bridge became very quiet. Jake felt sick to his stomach. You mean we attacked them for no reason? That's exactly what I mean, Helen said. What we saw as an attack was actually their way of saying hello. They were scanning our ship to learn about us. Blake sat down heavily in his command chair. Oh no, we just started a war with aliens because we misunderstood their greeting. Danny received another transmission from the alien station. This time the message was longer. Why ... do you ... hack peaceful? Researchers? We meant no ... harm. We ... only wanted to learn ... about you. Please ... explain. ... your ... Gostal ... Atschuld. Lisa Park had been studying the alien station with her sensors. Captain, I'm detecting massive damage to their systems. We hurt them badly. Some sections of the station have lost life support. Can we help them? Blake asked. I think so. We have emergency repair equipment and medical supplies. Blake made his decision quickly. Prepare a shuttle. We're going over there to help fix what we broke. But before they could launch the shuttle, more aliens arrived. Pete Johnson detected them first on his navigation sensors. Captain, we have company. 36 ships just appeared at the edge of the system. On the main screen, they could see the alien fleet approaching. The ships were beautiful, with smooth curves and bright colors. They looked more like art than weapons of war. Are they armed? Carlos asked, checking his weapon systems. I can detect some kind of energy projectors, Lisa said, but they're not very powerful. Nothing like real military weapons. Admiral Veltar's voice came over the communication system. Danny had improved the translation program, so the words were clearer now. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Veltar of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. You have attacked our people without cause. Explain your actions immediately. Blake stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. Danny, open a channel. Channel open, sir. Admiral Veltar, this is Captain Ryan Blake of the U.E.S. Defiant. We are humans from the planet Earth. We did not mean to attack your people. We thought they were attacking us first. This was a misunderstanding. There was a long pause before Veltar responded. You destroyed our defensive systems because you thought we were hostile? Your species shoots first and asks questions later? We defended ourselves when we saw energy beams coming at our ship, Blake explained. In our experience, that usually means someone is trying to hurt us. Those were scanning beams, Veltar said, his voice full of disbelief. We were trying to learn about your species peacefully. Your first instinct was violence? Amy Torres whispered to Blake, Captain, I don't think they understand how humans think about survival. Another alien voice came over the communication system. It was Station Commander Crete. Admiral, these humans are dangerous. They have weapons, far more powerful than ours. When we tried to scan them, they immediately responded with overwhelming force. I have never seen such aggressive behavior from a sentient species. Blake tried to explain again. We come from a world where many species compete for survival. We learned to defend ourselves quickly, or we would die. We didn't know you were peaceful. A world of competition and violence? Veltar sounded horrified. How did your species survive to develop space travel? How do you work together if you are always fighting? We fight against threats, but we cooperate with our own kind, Blake said. We protect each other. But you attacked us before you knew if we were a threat, Creeth pointed out. You assumed we were enemies and acted accordingly. Jake realized that the aliens couldn't understand human thinking at all. To them, the idea of attacking first and asking questions later was completely alien. They had never needed to develop that kind of survival instinct. We are sorry for the damage we caused, Blake said finally. We want to help repair your station and make this right. Stay away from our station, Veltar ordered. We need time to understand what kind of species you are. A species that treats first contact as a combat situation is not something we have encountered before. The alien fleet moved into a defensive formation around the damaged station. They kept their weapons pointed at the Defiant, even though their weapons were much weaker than the human ships. Captain, Amy said quietly, I think we just became the monsters in their nightmares. Blake looked at the alien fleet on the screen. 36 ships against one, and they were still afraid of the humans. What did that say about humanity? Danny, record a message to Earth Command, Blake said. Tell them we've made first contact with aliens. And tell them we might have a big problem. Elder Zarin had lived for 300 years and had never called an emergency meeting of the High Council. But the reports coming from the border system were unlike anything in Zephyrian history. The council chamber was filled with worried voices as representatives from across Zephyrian space gathered. The room was designed for calm discussion, with soft lighting and comfortable seating. Today, it felt tense and frightening. Order, order, Zarain called out. Intelligence officer. Morduk will present his analysis of the human vessel. Morduk stood at the center of the chamber. His green skin was pale with worry as he activated the holographic display. An image of the U-East Defiant appeared in the air above him. Council members, this human ship is unlike anything we have seen before, Morduk began. Our scientists have analyzed the weapon signatures from the attack on Station Crete H. The results are disturbing. The hologram showed the Defiant's missile attack on the station. The explosion played in slow motion, highlighting the destruction. A single volley from this one human ship produced more destructive force than our entire defensive fleet could generate, Morduk continued. Their weapons technology appears to be centuries ahead of our own. Council member Yelta raised her hand to speak. Surely you're exaggerating. No species builds weapons that powerful unless they are constantly at war. That's exactly the point, Morduk said grimly. The humans come from a world of violence. Their first response to contact with us was immediate attack. They didn't try to communicate. They didn't attempt to understand our intentions. They simply opened fire. The council chamber erupted in worried chatter. Many Zephyrians had never even seen a real weapon before. The idea of a species that solved problems with violence was terrifying to them. Elder Zarain stood up slowly. What else do we know about these humans? Very little, Morduk admitted. They claim to come from a planet called Earth. According to their transmissions, they are a young species that has only recently developed space travel. Yet somehow they have military technology that surpasses our 1,000-year-old civilization. How is that possible? Asked Council member Rick San. They focused all their development on weapons and warfare, Morduk explained, while we spent centuries perfecting art, philosophy, and peaceful technology. They were building better ways to destroy each other. Back on the UE's Defiant, the crew was trying to understand what had gone wrong. Captain Blake had ordered everyone to stay at their stations while they figured out their next move. The alien fleet is maintaining their distance, Pete Johnson reported. They're about 50,000 kilometers away, just watching us. Any more communication attempts? Blake asked. Danny Wright shook his head. Nothing, sir. They're not responding to our messages anymore. Dr. Helen Price was still studying the alien signals they had recorded. Captain, I'm learning more about their language and culture from these transmissions. I think I understand why they're so afraid of us. Explain, Blake said. Their entire civilization is built around cooperation and peaceful problem-solving. Helen said, the concept of using violence to resolve conflicts is completely foreign to them. To us, shooting first and asking questions later is normal survival behavior. To them, it's the most evil thing they can imagine. Lisa Park looked up from her science station. "I've been analyzing their ship designs. These aren't warships at all. They're exploration and research vessels that have been converted for defense. Their weapons are basically tools for mining and construction." "So they're not really military ships?" Amy Torres asked. "No," Lisa said. "It's like they took a bunch of school buses and tried to turn them into tanks. They're doing their best, but they're not built for fighting." Carlos Martinez checked his tactical display. "Captain, even with 36 ships, they don't have enough firepower to seriously damage us. But they're still trying to protect their damaged station." Blake felt a heavy weight in his chest. "They're terrified of us, but they're still willing to fight to protect their people." Meanwhile, Admiral Veltar was having his own difficult conversation with the High Council through subspace communication. "Admiral, the Council has decided that these humans represent a threat to galactic peace," Elder Zarine said. "We are going to warn other species about them. Are you sure that's wise?" Veltar asked. "Maybe we can find a peaceful solution." "They attacked a research station without provocation," Zarin replied. "What more evidence do we need? This species is dangerous." On the Defiant, something unexpected happened. The ship's sensors detected a strange energy field spreading out from the alien fleet. "Captain, the aliens are projecting some kind of energy field toward us," Lisa reported. "It's not harmful, but it's definitely artificial. What does it do?" Blake asked. Before Lisa could answer, the crew began to feel strange. A wave of calm washed over them, followed by feelings of peace and contentment. The tension on the bridge started to disappear. "It's some kind of mood control device," Helen realized. "They're trying to make us less aggressive." But the human crew didn't understand what was happening. To them, it felt like their minds were being attacked. "They're trying to control our thoughts," Carlos shouted, fighting against the peaceful feelings. "It's some kind of mind weapon." The crew began to panic. They had trained to resist mental attacks during their military preparation. Jake quickly shut down all non-essential systems to protect the ship's computers. "Defensive measures," Blake ordered. "Don't let them get into our heads." Maria Santos worked frantically at her engineering station. "I'm boosting the ship's shields to block their signal." The peaceful feeling disappeared as the ship's shields blocked the alien energy field. But the damage was already done. The humans now believed the aliens had tried to control their minds. "Sir, they just attempted a psychic attack on our crew," Carlos reported. "They're more dangerous than we thought." Blake made a quick decision. "All hands to battle stations. Prepare for possible combat." Admiral Veltar watched in horror as the human ship powered up all its weapon systems. The translation computer had picked up fragments of their internal communications. "They think our harmony field was an attack," Communications Officer Tellia reported. "They're preparing to fight all of us." "How can they think a peace-inducing field is a weapon?" Veltar asked in disbelief. "Sir, I think their brains work differently than ours," Tellia said. "They see everything as a potential threat." Veltar realized that the situation was getting worse by the minute. Every attempt at peaceful contact just made the humans more suspicious and dangerous. "Send a message to the High Council," he ordered. "Tell them that the humans are even more dangerous than we thought. They resist peaceful solutions and interpret all attempts at communication as attacks." "What should we do, Admiral?" his tactical officer asked. Veltar looked at the human ship on his display. It was smaller than any of his vessels, but he knew it could destroy his entire fleet if the humans decided to attack. "We wait," he said, "and we hope they don't decide we're too much of a threat to leave alive." The standoff continued, with neither side understanding the other, and both sides becoming more afraid with each passing hour. The emergency session of the United Species Assembly had never seen so many representatives arrive so quickly. Elder Zarin stood at the center of the Great Hall, looking out at hundreds of different alien species. Some flew, some crawled, some existed as pure energy. But they all shared one thing today: fear. "Fellow beings," Zarin began, "we face a threat unlike any in our recorded history. A new species has emerged from the outer rim of the galaxy. They call themselves humans, and they are unlike anything we have encountered." The hall buzzed with nervous chatter. The assembly had been peaceful for thousands of years. Most species hadn't heard the word threat used seriously in centuries. "Show them the recordings," Zarin said. A hologram appeared above the assembly floor. It showed the attack on the Zephyrian research station, played in slow motion. The human missiles struck the peaceful station with devastating force. "This happened during first contact," Zarin explained. "The humans attacked without warning, without communication, without any attempt at peaceful interaction. Their first instinct when meeting new life was violence." Ambassador Felmus of the Melori Collective stood up. The Melori were natural empaths who could sense emotions from great distances. "Elder Zarin, my people have detected emotional disturbances coming from the direction of human space. We sense anger, aggression, and a constant readiness for conflict. It's unlike anything we've felt before." "What do you mean?" asked Representative Quillen of the Andorian Trade Union. "Most species project feelings of curiosity, cooperation, or at worst, mild competition," Felnis explained. "The humans project what we can only describe as controlled violence. They are predators, even when they're trying to be peaceful." The assembly hall erupted in worried discussions. Many species had never dealt with predators before. Their homeworlds had evolved past the need for such behavior millions of years ago. High Resonator Thrumka of the Kethra Harmonics spoke next. "The silicon-based beings communicated through mineral vibrations. The frequency patterns we detect from human space are chaotic and aggressive. Their very presence disturbs the cosmic harmony our people have maintained for eons." "Surely you're all overreacting," said General Vortak of the Warrior Guild. The Vortak were one of the few species that still maintained a military tradition, though they used it mainly for ceremony and sport. "One incident doesn't mean they're a threat to the entire galaxy." Zarin activated another hologram. This one showed the standoff between the human ship and the Zephyrian fleet. "Watch what happens when we try to use our harmony field to calm their aggressive impulses." The recording showed the human ship immediately raising shields and powering weapons when the peace-inducing field reached them. "They interpreted a calming influence as an attack," Zarin said. "Their minds are so focused on conflict that they cannot recognize peaceful intentions. They see enemies everywhere." General Vortek sat down heavily. Even the warrior culture of his people emphasized honor and fair combat. The idea of attacking during first contact violated everything he believed in. "What do they want?" asked Trader Luxon of the Commerce Federation. "Unknown," Zarin replied. "They claim to be explorers, but they explore with weapons ready. They say they want peace, but they're prepared for war at all times. We cannot predict their behavior because their thinking is fundamentally different from ours." On the U-East Defiant, the crew was dealing with their own problems. Communications Officer Danny Wright had been monitoring alien transmissions across multiple frequencies. What he was hearing worried him. "Captain, I'm picking up communications from all over this sector," Danny reported. "The aliens are talking about us, and it's not good." "What are they saying?" Captain Blake asked. "It's hard to translate everything, but I'm hearing words like threat, danger, and predator in multiple alien languages. The news about our encounter is spreading fast." Engineer Maria Santos looked up from her workstation. "Sir, I've been analyzing the energy signatures from the alien fleet. They're sending out some kind of broadcast signal to other systems. What kind of broadcast? Blake asked. It looks like a warning signal, Maria said. They're telling other aliens about us. Dr. Helen Price had been working on understanding alien psychology since the encounter began. Captain, I think we need to understand how these aliens think. They've clearly never encountered a species like us before. Explain, Blake said. Every alien transmission I've analyzed shows signs of advanced cooperative behavior, Helen said. They seem to have evolved past the need for competition or conflict. The idea that intelligent life could be aggressive is completely foreign to them. Lieutenant Commander Amy Torres frowned. But that doesn't make sense. How did they survive evolution without developing defensive instincts? Maybe their planets were different, Helen suggested. Maybe they never had to compete for resources, the way we did on Earth. Lisa Park had been studying the alien fleet formations. Captain, I've noticed something interesting. Their ship positions aren't designed for combat effectiveness. They're arranged for maximum communication efficiency. Even when they're trying to be military, they're thinking like civilians. Jake Sullivan was monitoring the navigation sensors when he detected something alarming. Captain, we're getting new contacts. More alien ships are arriving in nearby systems. How many? Blake asked. I count at least 12 different fleets converging on this area, Jake said. Word is definitely spreading. The situation was becoming more serious by the hour. What had started as a simple first contact scenario was turning into a galaxy-wide crisis. Back in the assembly hall, Ambassador Felmus was sharing more disturbing information. My people have begun evacuating our border colonies, she announced. The emotional violence we sense from human space is too intense for our empaths to tolerate. You're abandoning entire worlds because of one human ship? General Vortok asked. You don't understand, Felmus replied. To my people, being near humans would be like living next to a psychic storm. Their minds generate so much aggressive energy that it would drive our people insane. Representative Quillen stood up. The trade union is suspending all commerce routes near human space. We cannot risk our merchant vessels encountering these beings. The Kethra are constructing harmony barriers around our territory. High resonator? Thrumka added. We must protect our crystal gardens from their chaotic frequencies. Elder Zarain watched as species after species announced defensive measures. The galaxy was preparing for something it had never faced before. Contact with a truly aggressive intelligent species. What are you suggesting we do? Asked Ambassador Wylon of the Science Coalition. We must be prepared, Zarin said. These humans have shown that they possess advanced weapons technology and a willingness to use it. If they decide to expand beyond their current territory, we need to be ready to protect ourselves. Are you talking about a military alliance? General, Vortik asked. I'm talking about survival, Zarin replied. For the first time in thousands of years, we face a species that might not be interested in peaceful coexistence. On the Defiant, Captain Blake was beginning to understand the magnitude of what had happened. A single misunderstanding during first contact had somehow triggered a galaxy-wide panic. Danny, are you still monitoring their communications? Blake asked. Yes, sir. And Captain, I think we have a bigger problem than we realized. How big? Danny's face was pale as he looked at his readings. Sir, I'm detecting communication traffic between dozens of different species. They're all talking about us. And they're all scared. Blake sat down in his command chair and stared at the alien fleet still surrounding them. 36 ships from one species. But if Danny was right, they might soon be facing ships from dozens of species, all united by their fear of humanity. Amy, what's our status if we need to leave quickly? Blake asked. Engines are ready, sir. We can jump to FTL speed in 30 seconds if needed. Blake nodded, but he knew that running away wouldn't solve their problem. Humanity had just become the boogeyman of the galaxy, and he wasn't sure how to fix it. Dr. Alex Turner had been studying the data from the Zephyrian station for hours when he found something that changed everything. As the ship's xenoarchaeologist, his job was to understand alien cultures and history. What he discovered in the alien databases made his blood run cold. "Captain Blake, you need to see this immediately," Alex called out from his research station. Blake walked over, followed by several other senior officers. "What did you find, Alex?" "I've been analyzing the historical records we downloaded from the alien station," Alex explained. "There are references to an ancient species called the Harvesters. Look at this." Alex activated his display, showing alien text with English translation scrolling below. The records described a species that had conquered most of the galaxy millions of years ago. "The Harvesters were aggressive expansionists," Alex read. "They spread across the galaxy, conquering or destroying every species they encountered. They saw cooperation as weakness and peace as an invitation to attack." Dr. Helen Price leaned forward to read the text. "This sounds exactly like how the aliens see us." "It gets worse," Alex continued. "According to these records, the Harvesters didn't just conquer planets. They forced other species to become like them, aggressive, competitive, always ready for war. Any species that couldn't adapt to their violent way of thinking was eliminated." Captain Blake felt a chill run down his spine. "What happened to them?" "That's a mystery," Alex said. "The records say that the Harvesters suddenly vanished about 2 million years ago. No one knows why or where they went. But after they disappeared, the surviving species made a choice." "What kind of choice?" Amy Torres asked. Alex scrolled to another section of the alien records. "They decided that aggression and competition were the root of all evil. Every surviving species deliberately evolved their cultures to eliminate violent tendencies. They created galactic laws against conflict resolution through force. They built their entire civilization around cooperation and peaceful problem-solving." Lisa Park looked up from her science station, where she had been monitoring alien communications. "Captain, that explains everything. The aliens aren't just peaceful by nature. They're peaceful by choice, because they remember what happened the last time aggressive species ruled the galaxy. And now they think we're the return of the Harvesters." Blake said quietly. Engineer Maria Santos had been listening to the conversation while monitoring the ship's systems. "Sir, if that's true, then we're not just dealing with first contact anymore. We're dealing with their worst nightmare coming true." Danny Wright received another transmission from the alien fleet. The translation was clearer now as his computers learned more of their language. "Captain, Admiral Veltar is requesting permission to communicate with you directly," Danny reported. "Put him through," Blake said. Admiral Veltar's image appeared on the main screen. The blue-skinned alien looked tired and worried. "Captain Blake," Veltar began, "we have been studying your ship and your species. We have found something in our ancient records that may explain the situation we face." "The Harvesters?" Blake said. "We found the same records in your station's database." Veltar's large eyes widened in surprise. "Then you understand why we fear you. We're not the Harvesters," Blake said firmly. "We're explorers. We came here seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent life." "But you attacked our research station," Veltar pointed out. "You responded to our greeting with violence. You prepared for battle when we tried to calm your aggressive impulses. How are you different from the ancient conquerors?" Blake thought carefully about his answer. "Admiral, we come from a world where survival required constant vigilance. On Earth, many species compete for limited resources. We learned to defend ourselves quickly because hesitation meant death." "So you admit that your species is naturally aggressive," Veltar said. "We're naturally defensive," Blake corrected. "There's a difference. We protect what we care about, but we don't seek to conquer others. Dr. Helen Price stepped forward. Admiral, may I speak? Veltar nodded. I've been studying your culture and ours, Helen said. I think I understand the problem. Your species eliminated competition and conflict from your evolution, but humans never had that luxury. We had to balance cooperation within our groups with competition against external threats. That sounds exactly like the harvesters, Veltar replied. No, Helen said. The harvesters conquered because they enjoyed domination. Humans fight because we're afraid. When we attacked your station, it wasn't because we wanted to hurt you. It was because we were scared and didn't understand your intentions. Alex Turner joined the conversation. Admiral, according to your records, the harvesters never tried to communicate before attacking. They never apologized for mistakes. They never offered to help repair damage they had caused. We've done all of those things. That's true, Veltar admitted. But how do we know you won't change when you become more powerful? How do we know you won't become conquerors when you have enough ships? Captain Blake understood the real problem now. You're not afraid of what we are. You're afraid of what we might become. Exactly, Veltar said. Your species has the same psychological foundation as the harvesters. Given time and opportunity, you might follow the same path they did. The bridge became quiet as the human crew absorbed this information. They were being judged not for what they had done, but for what they might do in the future. What would it take to prove that we're different? Blake asked. I don't know, Veltar said honestly. My people are meeting with representatives from dozens of other species. They're all terrified that the age of peace is ending. Some are calling for a preemptive strike against your homeworld before you can become a threat. A preemptive strike? Amy Torres said. You'd attack Earth because you think we might become dangerous? The Collective Council is debating it now, Veltar said. They believe that preventing the return of galactic warfare is worth any action, even if it means destroying an entire species. Blake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The decisions made here, in this remote star system, could determine the fate of both humanity and galactic civilization. Admiral, what if we could prove that humans are capable of change? Blake asked. What if we could show that we can learn to be peaceful like your people? How would you do that? Veltar asked. Blake looked around at his crew. They were all military trained, all prepared for combat, all products of humanity's aggressive evolution. But they were also curious, compassionate, and capable of learning. Give us a chance, Blake said. Send representatives to Earth. Let them see how we really live. Let them meet humans who aren't soldiers. Show them our art, our music, our philosophy. Let them see that we're more than just warriors. And in return? Veltar asked. In return, we'll send our people to learn from you. We'll study your peaceful ways. We'll try to become the kind of species that can coexist with galactic civilization. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. You're asking us to trust you. Yes, Blake said simply. We're asking for trust, and we're offering to earn it. The Council will never agree to that, Veltar said. They're too afraid. Then we need to give them a reason to hope instead of fear, Blake replied. Admiral, someone has to take the first step toward peace. If it can't be us, then maybe it should be you. The transmission ended, leaving the human crew alone with their thoughts. They had discovered that humanity was seen as the return of an ancient evil. The galaxy was preparing to destroy them before they could become a threat. But they had also found something else, the possibility that fear could be overcome by understanding, and that even species as different as humans and aliens could find a way to coexist. The question now was whether the galaxy would give them the chance to prove it. Jake Sullivan looked out at the stars and wondered if this was how peace really began. Not with grand gestures or formal treaties, but with two scared species deciding to trust each other despite everything their instincts told them. The future of humanity, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance.